Hello gardeners, so welcome back. Here's a little update on the sort of things that we are now eating in the garden, and also the sort of things that we are now adding to the garden in order that we'll have some crops later on in the year. So I just want to start off with showing you some of the things that are now ready to eat. This is a very delightful time for me. So it's been sunny and warm, but we've been watering a lot, and that has paid dividends because now we have our first crop of peas here. So we've got lots and lots and lots of these pea pods. I wish you were all here to sample these, but I'm just going to open those up one-handed, which is always a little bit difficult. And there we have a number of seeds. Now you have up to 10 seeds in a pod. Whoops. Oh, I'm dropping them off there. You have up to 10 seeds in a pod. We have around about 5 or 6 here. I think you can count them better than I can through this camera screen. And what these are actually the seeds of the pea. The pea is in the legume family, and this is how they produce their seeds. And when we sow our pea seeds, what we sow is the dried off little seeds here that you can see. But of course, the peas are absolutely delicious to eat, particularly when they're this young, and I shall try some. You might hear me crunching around. Also, at this time of year, I have to say, I quite like to eat the pods too. There's nothing wrong with those. They're still very sweet, a little bit chewy. You can see our onions, which we've highlighted on previous weeks, growing away here, along with some replacement salads, or interplanted salads really, because there's plenty of space between those onions. So I do like to intersow and interplant as much as possible. You can see they've suffered a little bit this week. It's been so hot and so dry that they've started to wilt, but they will come back, as this one here has. We have also planted up some courgettes just on the corner of the beds. Now those will stay in for a good while yet. You can see this one here also getting a bit sad because of the lack of rain, but again it will come back with a bit of a water, and I've been flooding the garden today. I wanted to show you some other things. So sown in between our onions, another lovely seasonal crop, and we can have these a lot of the year, and these are lovely radishes. So just pick one of those here. Now they're not quite ready yet, but I want to show you one anyway. It's a French breakfast radish. Here we are. So the bit under the ground, see if we can get that into focus. The bit underground has been blanched. That means it hasn't developed its colour like the rest of the radish. So we can see where the soil level was. But these are really delicious. This one needs about another week or so, something like that, before it's ready to eat. But I will, of course, not be wasting this one. I'll be eating this after I've given it a little bit of a wash there. Our broad beans are developing very, very nicely. There's our peas having a good old soak in. You can see lots of pea pods on there. And I want to show you some of our broad beans. Since last time, they had a bit of an attack. They've had an attack of black fly. Can we see over here? Goodness me, if I can get close enough and maybe get a focus on that. Goodness me, there are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of black fly, and their honeydew, which they secrete, so it's very, very sticky. And they suck a lot of the sap and goodness out of our plant. So not a good thing. However, we do have, if we look around, some lovely broad beans here that have now developed and are ready to pick. This one here needs a little wash. Get some of that honeydew off. But inside we should find, again, whoops, one-handed. There we go. We've got our furry little casing there, and now our developed broad bean. So last time we ate these, a couple of weeks ago, it was the whole pod. Now it's just going to be this little bean we're going to eat. Absolutely delicious at this time of year, really, really tender and sweet. And I wish you were here to try some, but at least the video will show you what's going on. I just want to show you what's going on in the polytunnel again. So we've got our lettuces, which are now going to seed. So they're producing their flower heads. If we can have a look at these, producing their flower heads. So I'm going to leave some of these lettuces into flower to show you, because they really look like rather alien monsters by the time they're finished. They'll be very, very tall. They'll be up about this sort of height, almost as tall as me actually. But we can still eat our lettuce leaves. Some of these are okay, some of them will be a bit bitter, because as they produce their flowers, they also produce some bitterness in their leaves, and that's really to stop predators from eating eating those leaves. So we've got our peas here again inside, which was our kind of spring planting to get us through the spring, and now we need to start replacing. And what we've replaced with is got some lovely basil just at the beginning of its life here. Now if I do this, if we had smelly vision, you'd be able to smell a delicious smell, but unfortunately you don't. I can smell that. And just at the back, what I've done is, because our peas are not quite yet ready to harvest, and I don't know when you're all going to be back, so I want to plan as much as possible so that you have the benefits. But what I've done at the back is I've planted up our tomato plants just at the back there, and those will be growing away while our peas are still being harvested off here, and hopefully some of you may be back in time to get some of those peas. But if not, we'll harvest them off, hand them out to the kitchen and perhaps some of the parents of children that are still in the school. And those lovely tomatoes will grow and grow and grow and grow behind them. And that is going to be our next successional crop. I just want to also show you our grape, which has come back to life. It's always a bit of a funny time this time of year, whether your grape's going to come back to life, because it comes back to life quite late. But we can see that that's really happy now and starting to go higher and higher and higher. And what we hope it's going to do is it's going to come up to this fencing, and we're going to have our grapevines all the way along this fencing here. Another plant that's doing extremely well in a little bit of shade, which it doesn't mind because it's a edge of woodland plant naturally, is our blackberry. We can see that here, looks a little bit like the some of the blackberries that we find outgrowing in the woodlands. Those ones usually have some spines on them. They're called brambles. You all might have had contact with those. Maybe you've fallen off your bike or lost your way in the woods and you've had to walk through those. But those are absolutely delicious. These are cultivated versions. So look what they've managed to do. The plant breeders have managed to breed away any of those spines, so they're nice and smooth, and those won't attack us. So those went in last year, and those again, just in a little bit of shade of our polytunnel, are very happy. And we're trying to get those all the way up to our chain link fencing here, and again they'll grow all the way along there. Same story here with our loganberry. That's upside down for you. Our loganberry also putting on a lot of growth. Same story. Let's get that up to our chain link fencing so we've got a whole wall of fruit. And that's all from me for today. Once again, I hope you've enjoyed looking at the progress of the garden over the last week. Maybe you'd be interested to look into some of the history of vegetables, perhaps looking at the vegetable families. We've certainly been concentrating on the legume family this week with our peas and our beans. Maybe you could look up what other families of vegetables there are. I'll give you a clue. The potato family, the cabbage family, and the onion family may well feature. Look them up. Maybe you want to have a look at the story of James Harvey Logan and how he accidentally created the loganberry fruit in 1881 in Santa Cruz in America. It's an interesting story. Join me next time when we'll be looking at other aspects of the garden, and like always, those things that we can eat. Until then, take care.